Last night, Speaker Mike Johnson laid in once again to the Democrats over their insistence to keep our government shut down. And we've got a brand new poll that shows how Democrats are falling off the cliff with this strategy. They just can't quit the communists who are telling them to keep the government shut down, but it ain't going to end well. We're going to show you that poll. We're going to show you how even the media has had enough of the Dems. But first, we'll start with your speaker, Mike Johnson, last night.
Democratic leaders before the shutdown.
But that was a one-hour meeting where he basically said, here's our bill, take it or leave it. Yeah. That's not a negotiation.
Yeah. Schumer has shown no indication whatsoever that he's changed his posture from that day. So talking with him and trying to negotiate is a waste of time.
That is such a great power move from the speaker. Are you going to speak with Schumer? No. Talking to Chuck Schumer is a waste of time. It is. I have never seen in my entire adult life, and I'm old enough to remember, as the kids like to say, the first major government shutdown when it was a showdown between Newt Gingrich, then Speaker of the House in the 90s, and Bill Clinton in the White House. And I've witnessed every single one of them between then and now. And I have never seen a speaker and a majority leader Republican and a president, the Republican, so unified, not just on the purpose of their role in trying to keep the government funded, but also on the discipline that they've got with their messaging. And they're not buying into any of the bullshit that the media is trying to force them into. They're not buying the premise of any of the talking points that the left is trying to bring to them. They keep saying the same thing. We want to open the government. We're the adults in the room. No, we're not going to negotiate. And talking to Chuck Schumer right now is a waste of everybody's time. We're not going to give him the photo op he wants. It's great. And this morning, he kept up the pressure. Check out Mike Johnson.
And yet they're also incoherently claiming that the shutdown is somehow on the fault of the other party. And the people aren't buying it. And that's why the polling continues to show that the approval of Republicans in Congress is rising with each passing day. And the Democrats, at the same time, Democrats in Congress have the lowest approval rating they have ever had since polling began, since recorded polling began on these metrics. And here's just an example yesterday. For example, CNN polling showed yesterday the approval of Republicans in Congress is up 8% since the shutdown began among independents. I mean, that's an important metric because people are paying attention. They understand what's happening and they see who is responsible. It's a really important thing to watch. Ronald Reagan used to remind us that you can always trust the American people, and we do. We trust their intelligence, and we trust their understanding of basic civics. In fact, we trust the American people's understanding of civics far more than the Democrats in this building right now.
Listen, he's a good communicator, and he can get his message across without putting on that fake Frito Bandito mustache and sombrero that Hakeem Jeffries also has to put on. I don't understand why he does that. It makes me laugh, but he should probably ditch it. That said, did Mike Johnson just mention polling? Did Mike Johnson just say that Republicans have actually gained popularity during the shutdown? Did Mike Johnson just say that the Democrats have the lowest favorability rating since Tippecanoe and Tyler 2? That's probably overstating the case. But yes, that's what he said. Now let's go to our buddy, Harry Enten. Huh? See, Enten. He's over at CNN, and he's got his polling results. See? He's kind of got a 30s gangster thing, but he's all over these polls. Take a look.
Starting with Republicans, how has the shutdown seemed to have affected their political standing?
Yeah, you might think, given that the Republicans are in charge of both the House and the Senate, that a government shutdown might actually hurt the Republican brand. But in fact, it hasn't. If anything, it's been helped a little bit. Take a look here, the shift in net popularity versus pre-shutdown. When we're looking at the Republican Party overall, that brand actually up 2 points. That's within the margin of error, but clearly it hasn't dropped. Come over to this side of the screen. Look at the net approval ratings for Republicans in Congress. It's actually up 5 points since pre-shutdown. So what we're seeing here is the Republican brand in Congress has actually improved somewhat compared to where we were pre-shutdown, despite the fact that Republicans control. And that's the math that John Thune and Mike Johnson are looking at is, well, hey, why should we give, and electorally speaking, when our brand has actually improved a little bit?
Now, we say their position is getting better. With whom?
Yeah, okay, with whom? So I think it's two groups that it's so important to keep an eye on. All right, change in the Republican Congress's net approval rating versus pre-shutdown. It's rallying the base for sure. Look at this, the net approval rating up 12 points versus pre-shutdown. But it's not just with the base. It's also with the middle of the electorate. Look at this, among independents. It's up 8 points as well. So we've got a situation here where Republicans with the shutdown are actually rallying their base, but it's also something that's not hurting them with the folks in the middle. If anything, it's helping them with folks in the middle. And this is the type of math that if you're Republicans, you like to see, right? Because something could rally the base but alienate those in the middle, or something could rally those in the middle but alienate the base. But the truth is, we're not seeing that. What we're seeing is the Republican brand has actually gotten better among independents, and it's also gotten better among Republicans as well, that Republican brand when it comes to those in Congress. So again, what's the electoral reason that Republicans would give in at this point?
That's right. That's a great point. And there's more in this poll. This is all the good news for Republicans. We'll show you the bad news for Democrats. It's win-win. But let me just say, take a look at what you're looking at right there. Republican voters have increased their approval for the Republican Congress by 12 points. Independents, 8 points. Let me just put it this way. If the midterm elections, which will take place 1 year from now, if those midterms took place today or next week, with numbers like that right now for the Republican majority amongst their base and amongst independents, it would be a bloodbath for Democrats. And this is a year where Democrats think they're going to get back the majority. They think they're going to get the gavel, but they have gone so over the cliff in pandering to their Mamdani, AOC, Bernie Sanders, Democrat, socialist, communist base who want to burn the whole damn thing down because they did all they care is to just fight Trump, just fight them. Okay, well, by shutting down the government and fighting Trump, it means that, you know, we're the ones who are keeping the government from functioning. We're keeping military from getting paid. We're keeping starving children from getting stuff. We don't care. Just fight, damn it. Don't you understand? Fight. Antifa forever. That's who they're appealing to. And that doesn't win you an election. And they know it. They know it big time. This is upside down from where Democrats want to be right now. Heading into a year where they're going to have midterm elections. You know who really hates this? You know who really? Mikey Sherrill, trying to run for governor of New Jersey. She's currently a Democrat in Congress, and she's upside down. She's probably going to lose that race, it's looking. And Abigail Spanberger, the best thing she ever did, the smartest thing she ever did, if I can even say those words with regard to Abigail Spanberger, is quit Congress and not run as a sitting member of the House. Unlike Mikey Sherrill, Abigail Spanberger left the House of Representatives one election ago, excuse me. And she spent the whole year just doing nothing but run for governor of Virginia. If she were part of the Democrat caucus, she'd probably be down 5 points right now in Virginia. As it is, she's barely ahead, or it's neck and neck. But those numbers right there, that doesn't help her one iota. A lot of people, including myself, just assumed that the government shutdown would help Abigail Spanberger and hurt Winsome Sears in Virginia because there's so many government employees who live in Northern Virginia. Here's the thing, though. Most of them are already going to vote for Abigail Spanberger, number one. And number two, if you were on the fence, if you're an independent, if you were undecided, and now the government is shut down because of Abigail Spanberger's party shutting it down, and you're pissed, you're not voting for her. It's a disaster. And the disaster gets even worse. Watch. Have you popped the popcorn? Oh, you have? Oh, good. All right, watch.
Democrats, of course, they have their eyes on the midterm elections. Yeah, we have elections 1 week from today, but what Democrats in Congress are mostly focused on are 1 year and 1 week from today from the midterm. So how are they positioned right now?
Yeah, so, I mean, look, the generic congressional ballot, which traditionally Democrats have done really well on, and if you look at this point back when Trump was president the first time around, Democrats are up 11 points. Look at where it is now. Democrats are ahead, but they're actually only up 3 points. This is, in fact, the worst position Democrats have been on in a generic ballot at this point in midterm when there was a Republican president in the last 20 years. And this is no different from pre-shutdown. So Republicans aren't losing on this metric either. They become more popular, and they're actually in a pretty good position for them historically when it comes to the generic congressional ballot.
This is a concerning number for Democrats, are you saying?
This is a concerning number for Democrats because it's considerably worse than they traditionally do in midterm elections when there's a Republican president.
Harry Enten, thank you very much.
Yes, thank you, Harry. You big mug. See here, Harry. I love the way he presents these polls, and it's hilarious to watch as the Democrat sorry, the independent, nonpartisan CNN journalist has to stand there and swallow that little bile that just popped up and regurgitated in their esophagus because they're so nauseated by the fact that Democrats are flailing, and it's good news for Republicans. And it gets worse. Let's swing over to News Nation last night, where a Democrat Illinois congressman was on there to defend his party's shutdown of the government. And our pal, friend of the program, Leland Vittert, grilled them on the effects.
The DHQ average of poll shows Republicans' favorability rising during the shutdown.
So let me ask you a different question. Did you watch the baseball game last night?
No, sir.
18 innings. If you would ask me in the 9th inning, 10th inning, 11th inning, who was winning, I couldn't tell you because the game's not over till the game's over. Democrats are fighting for American health care to lower costs for Americans.
Though. I mean, we call it a political game, and I think the fact remains Democrats are voting to keep the government shut down.
Yeah, that's right. And sorry, but if you start talking about, oh, hey, there's a lot more innings to play. The game's not over yet. That's loser talk. That's loser talk. And by the way, conceding that as of now, in the 11th inning, 12th inning, how many innings were in the game the other night? As of now, you're losing, right? That's the only way to interpret that kind of thing. Hey, this is going into extra innings. You never know until the game's over. Okay, so in other words, you're conceding that you're in the toilet right now. And you are. Now, there are still some Democrats who are bitterly clinging on to yesterday's talking point. You remember when the Democrat whip, the second most powerful Democrat in the House of Representatives, admitted shamelessly in an interview that, yeah, people are going to suffer because of the shutdown, but that's the only leverage we've got. Well, this talking point apparently has gone out to multiple Democrats who think that this is a reasonable thing to say, who think that most Americans, even if they're not directly affected by this, have compassion for members of the military who might not get their next paycheck, air traffic controllers who are working without pay, law enforcement who are working without pay, and federal employees, and also just members of the American populace who are about to go without their SNAP benefits to help put food on the table, because thanks to Democrat programs growing to such an astronomical level, they've actually hooked Americans and got them addicted to federal benefits that help pay for their food, which is a whole other issue we should address. They think that it's an effective talking point to look at those people in the eyes and say, yeah, I know it's bad, it's hard, and people are suffering, but hey, you don't expect us to give up our leverage, do you? And yet they keep saying it. Here's Chris Coons, Democrat from Delaware.
Republicans control the House, the Senate, and the White House. Frankly, this is our only moment of leverage. And although a very unpleasant tool to use.
Yeah, it's super unpleasant, but, you know, we're going to use that tool anyway, because it's the only leverage we've got. And they say it without any sort of second thought. Look at Sheldon Whitehouse. You know him. He's the guy who belongs to a private whites-only beach in Rhode Island. Sheldon Whitehouse, chased down by independent journalist Nicholas Balassi and asked the same question. Is it okay to do this to people and make them suffer?
Why are working families the leverage the Democrats need to get Obamacare fixed, to get the Republicans to fix Obamacare? Why is that the place you guys have to go that far?
It's the only lever we have. And frankly, it wouldn't be a lever at all if Republicans were being reasonable and doing exactly what they should be doing for the sake of their own constituents, so many of whom depend on the Affordable Care Credits.
So let me get this straight. We're making people suffer and making them go without a paycheck, and maybe even make them go without the nutrition program that we got them hooked on. And we're doing that deliberately because it's the only lever we have, leverage. It's our only lever. And by the way, it's only happening because Republicans are unreasonable. Oh, really? What would Republicans need to do in your mind, Senator Whitehouse, for you to think that they are suddenly behaving reasonably? Well, they can do the reasonable thing and give us every damn thing we demand. That's the only reasonable thing, you see. We're in the minority. The American people took the majority away from us, and gave power in the Senate to Republicans in the last election. The American people also retained the gavel in the hands of Mike Johnson and kept power in Republicans' hand in the House. And the American people voted for Donald Trump to be president in a clean sweep of every single battleground state. And the popular vote was in favor of Donald Trump in the White House. But now it's time for the people who won the election last November across the board to act reasonably and give in to the demands of us in the minority. It's the only reasonable thing to do if you've won the election. Knuckle under and acquiesce to the demands of the losers in the last election. You have to be a Democrat, or you have to have some kind of advanced degree in a liberal arts college, or you have to work for the corporate legacy media to understand that logic and buy into it. You, however, you're much smarter than that, aren't you? This morning on CNBC, more concessions that the Democrats are behind the eight ball here and losing bigly.
I'm with you on the overall critique of shutdown as a tactic. It really is not something that's desirable.
You can vote.
But
you can
there
vote.
is a real issue about health care.
You're always reasonable when you come on, and I've said and I've said that. And you're almost conceding that you should not be shutting down the government, that the Democrats should not be doing that. And I don't think you'd ever say that extortion is the way that Republicans should get their way if they don't like the IRA or they don't like overspending or whatever it is at any given point in time where the other party has a disagreement. This is not the way to do it. As far as Obamacare, you probably realize a lot of these premium increases are just built into Obamacare. The expiration of the pandemic subsidies is only a very small part of the increases. So that discussion has to be had about fixes to Obamacare so it doesn't keep spiraling, the costs don't keep spiraling. But you're not going to do that before we reopen the government. It's not going to happen. It's going to have to happen afterwards. Are you ready to vote with the Republicans to reopen the government at this point as a reasonable Democrat? Maybe others would follow you.
I'm not there yet because we have had literally, Joe, no discussion whatsoever about how we're going to deal with these spikes. This is the right way to do it.
Yeah, let me just jump in real fast. There's more. I'm going to let you finish, Senator. This is Senator Peter Welch of Vermont. He's described as one of the reasonable ones, understandably, considering you compare him side by side with Bernie Sanders. But you just heard him say, I'm not quite there yet in terms of, if you really want to fix Obamacare, if you want to fix the Affordable Care Act, and Republicans are willing to talk to us about that, maybe we should just open the government first. It makes no sense if that's what your priority is. It makes no sense to continue to dig your fingernails in and clutch to this losing policy. He says, I'm not there yet. You know what that means? Let me just translate it for you. Chuck Schumer hasn't given me permission to be honest yet. I'm not allowed to really tell you what I think. I'm not there yet because Chuck Schumer hasn't given me permission. He will, though. It's coming up soon. The first cracks that you're going to see in this whole thing are senators like this. Schumer's not going to say anything. Schumer's going to continue to pretend that he's Zoran Mamdani, but 80 years old. He's going to continue to fly the red flag there and embrace the new communist base of the Democrats. He's got to, otherwise he's done for, right? But he's going to give permission to people like this, to these guys, the not completely insane Democrats in the Senate. This weekend, it'll happen this weekend, I think, they'll start breaking and they'll start coming out and saying, listen, we made our point. We did it, but because those Republicans are so intransigent, and I really think they're nuts, and they're doing whatever Trump tells them, and Trump tells them to keep the government shut down, even if it means kids are starving. And as much as I know we're right about this, I don't want children to starve, and therefore I think it's time to open the government. That's what we need to do now. You're going to see 3 or 4 of them do that this weekend. That's my prediction. Hey, we'll be here Monday. You can tell me if I was wrong or not, but that's my hunch. And when he says, I'm not there yet, that's code language. That means Schumer hasn't given me permission yet, but he will. The yet part is the key. The yet part.
Senator, by people not getting paychecks at the TSA. This is extortion. You think this is the right way to do it? In your conscience, you think it's the right way to do it? I never thought I'd say that, Andrew. That it, as a human being, he always says that. As a human being, you think this is the right thing to do? That's your line.
Well, that's why Senator Hawley and have our bill to make sure that folks get the nutrition that they absolutely need is why the president is paying the troops. But there is something that we've all got a knowledge here, okay? The administration has had an attack on health care as we know it. The Medicaid cuts were immense. They're going to have real impacts on individuals, and they're going to have impacts on state budgets and community hospitals.
Yeah. You've heard enough because, whenever they go to the Medicaid cuts, you know what that actually means. Medicaid cuts means that illegal immigrants aren't going to be getting federal tax dollars reimbursed for their free health care that Gavin Newsom promised them. It means that people who can work and are able to work, young men who are just compelled to go and at the very least volunteer at a nonprofit or a charity for 20 hours a week, aren't willing to do that, will kick them off of the Medicare that they shouldn't be getting. And the only reason they're getting it is because it's a holdover from COVID. When they start trying to resuscitate that corpse, they're on the losing end of this argument. See, you're done with him. You've heard the Democrats. You've seen them trying to stick to their talking point. You see how they're flailing. You've seen the polls. How can we finish this? How can we round things out with some sage wisdom? Well, I think we need to bring in one of our favorites in the United States Senate. You know him. You love him. John Kennedy, bring us home, my brother.
Yes. And I listened to your monologue, Sean, with all of these different characters. I thought to myself, even duct tape can't fix stupid. I don't know Miss Wallace. I watched her a little bit. I remember when she worked for President Bush. I suppose she's not as bad as some members of the liberal media, but that's faint praise. That's like being the smartest person on The View. I'm going to give Ms. Wallace the benefit of the doubt and assume that she said what she said right after her morning beer. The Democrats have accused President Trump of everything except abandoning his children to wolves. They daily call him a racist and a Nazi. The Democrats are angry. They're angry for two reasons. They're angry because President Trump won the election. The American people spoke. My Democratic colleagues need to just drink a big old glass of get over it and let's move on. They're mad, number two, they're mad that the American people are mad about the shutdown. It was so needless. I voted 13 times to open government back up. The Democrats have voted 13 times to keep it shut down. They don't want to pay food stamps. They don't want to pay the military. They want to use this as leverage to gain more money to spend. Senator Schumer, my colleague, eagerly, greedily wanted to become the face of the shutdown. I was looking at a poll today of what the American people think of Senator Schumer. It was an Economist YouGov poll, which is very left of center. The American people, in the American people's opinion, Senator Schumer he's a wet match in a dark cave. He polls right up there with clubbing baby seals. He's got a 30% approval rating, a 60% disapproval rating, and 10% of folks polled just didn't want to pause their video games to answer. It's not working. The American people may not read Aristotle every day, but they get it. This is not a policy shutdown.
I could watch it all day. Oh, God bless you, Senator Kennedy. All right, well, that's the latest. That's where things stand. Democrats continue to lose. They're clinging on because I guess they're still raising more money, or they're showing the base that they can fight. And maybe they're holding out until after Election Day next Tuesday to see what happens, to make sure that Mamdani wins, although the polls there are tightening. I'll be honest with you. I can analyze politics to a certain extent, but as Kennedy pointed out there, I can't bridge the stupid gap. And it reaches a point where I'm not sure why they're doing what they're doing, other than maybe it's gone so far they don't know how to get out. I've given you my prediction. I think this weekend you're going to see some of those middle of the road, moderate type, or at least they like to pretend they're moderate, reasonable Democrats come forward and say enough is enough. We'll see. We'll see. But we got a couple more days this week to see if anything breaks and anything moves. Either way, Republicans right now looking good thanks to the polling, and the Democrats have handed them this gift. Understand that. Republicans are actually more popular now with independents and with Republicans than they were before the government shutdown. And that never would have happened if the Democrats hadn't decided to do this thing. They have actually created an environment to make Republicans more popular. I never thought I'd live to see the day.